It's one of the great blue collar jobs. It still pays very well out there. You can work as much as you want pretty much. So, I mean, there's guys that are making 150 a year, 200 a year, and there's guys making 700 a year. It just depends on how much you want to work. Once you have the journeyman ticket, it's job security. As long as you keep your license in good standing, you can go sign the books anywhere across the country. Follow the work if you want to. You can storm chase, or you can sit and work for a utility and just work your minimum 40-hour weeks. That's why I kind of love it. Welcome to the Harder Working Podcast, where career blueprints are drawn. My name is Cody Cessna. I'm a former lineman who retired at age 37 to follow my dreams of owning a successful business. My hope for this podcast is to help harder working people find rewarding jobs that they actually enjoy and to better their lives in the process. Hey guys, this is Cody. Welcome to the Harder Working Podcast. This is episode 1. I get reached out to by a lot of people about how I got into the trade I'm into. There's a lot of people that are like me, college isn't for them. So we want to have a podcast where we're going to bring on different guests and kind of go into the specifics of different trades, how they got into those trades, what are the prereqs, what's their advice, what's their story. So on the first podcast, where we'll talk about me, I'm a lineman. I get asked all the time, how to get into line work? What do I need to do to get into line work? So starting off, you're going to need a Class A. So that means a clean driving record and a driver's license in order to get into trucking school and obtain your Class A. This also means you'll be subject to drug testing. Once you get your Class A, you also need to get a climbing certificate. It's a 600-hour climbing certificate. There are a few schools local to Southern California that are cheaper, but they're going to be a long waiting list, probably 2-3 year waiting list, or harder to get into. There are some more expensive schools where you can pay $20,000. They're out of state, different campuses that'll offer this climbing certificate in a little bit quicker time. And if you're actually serious about it, it's not a bad investment. You can easily make that money back. Make sure that whatever climbing school there's so many out there now that offer this 600-hour certificate. Just make sure that it's accredited climbing school, and where you're most likely trying to get hired, their certificate works there. So I know NLC is a big one. A lot of the guys go to. They paid for it. They have a few campuses now. I went to LA Trade Tech. There's East LA. There's a few different climbing schools. So once you get that, the biggest thing is to start applying. You have your Class A and you have your climbing certificate. You need to start applying. Every different utility. Start signing the books of the contractors, do whatever you can, because the biggest thing to help you get hired is a little bit of experience. So the more you can put on that resume saying, okay, hey, I worked for such and such contractor digging holes for 6 months. That lets us know that you have a little bit of insight of what's going on in this field. You can dig holes. You can put that with manual labor. These are kind of prereqs we used to go through at the utilities. We get to look at some of the applicants, and if they have a little bit of experience in the field, whether it's just 4 to 6 months, that's a lot better than no experience at all. So yeah, you do have to kind of pay your dues. Even if you're on a digging crew, it is what it is. If you're on a civil crew, anything that's going to relate to line work to help is better. It's something to put on your application that's going to put you a little bit ahead of that guy with no experience or no background. Sign every book at every union you can. Apply for every utility. So my story, when I was trying to get into climbing school, didn't have a lot of money. I was over my welding career at the time, really needed to get into line work, putting a lot of pressure on myself to get into a climbing school. I wanted to go to LA Trade Tech just because it's a more affordable option, closer commute, not to move out of town or anything like that. And I showed up on the first day and tried to crash the course. Well, so did 100 other guys. And it's a class of only 50 guys. So we all hung out for a few days waiting to see if any guys wouldn't show up the next day or whatnot. By the end of the week, there were about 10 spots open in the class. So they drew names out of the hat out of 100, and they picked 10 guys that crashed that would get into the class. Well, I didn't get lucky, and I didn't get picked out of those 10 guys. So the next week comes around, and I showed up again on Monday, still seeing if maybe over the weekend nobody wanted to do the class anymore. And that happened. I hung out for like 2 weeks. There were a few of us, and eventually the teacher told us, hey, we can't have you guys liability. We can't have you guys hanging out in the climbing yard on the property. So if you want to hang out or show up, the class is pretty much set anyways. Guys can wait outside the gate. Well, I waited outside the gate a few more days. I showed up. I was getting deterred because the kind of the deadline to crash the course was coming up soon. And the teacher pretty much told us, just try again next semester. Well, a long holiday weekend had come. I think it was Labor Day or whatnot. I remember I was pretty deterred and discouraged that weekend, and I was talking to my dad about it. My dad said, it's a holiday weekend. He's like, just show up one last time Tuesday after the holiday weekend. You never know. And there was only me and 2 or 3 other guys showing up the week prior to crash the course. Still seeing if anyone would drop out. Anyways, that's Tuesday. I show up outside the gate, and I get there early, and I'm waiting, just sitting there outside the gate, and I'm the only one that showed up. The other few guys that were trying to crash, they had given up. I was sitting outside the gate and watching all the guys come in, and I see one of the guys walking up with his head down and a cast around his arm. And over the weekend, he had gotten into a bar fight. And I see him walk up and talk to the teacher. Teacher turns around, points at me, and says, "You're in." So it was an awesome, a moment of squeaky wheel gets the grease. Be persistent, keep pushing. If I didn't show up, I wouldn't have I would have had to wait another 6 months for the next semester and possibly not even gotten in then. So I got really lucky, and the persistence paid off. After I did my climbing school, I signed the books. I signed up for a trucking school, and I started applying at every utility I could. Southern California Edison was my main goal, so that was what I was really applying for. I'd wake up every Thursday morning, go on edisonjobs.com. That was where they would post all the new groundman listings. Every Thursday morning, I'd apply for anything and everything that was out there that I could. Any yard didn't matter. You kind of have to be willing to take a job wherever. So about 6 months after climbing school, I had gotten picked up with Edison, and I remember getting the call, and the lady called me over the phone, and she's like, "Well, we have 2 yards to pick from, or the yard they're offering you a job is Tulare." And I was like, "Wait, how do you spell that?" She said, T-U-L-A. I go, "Oh, Tulare." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." So I took the first offer they gave me, and it was Tulare. And that was where I started as a groundman. Later, I transferred to Valencia, and it was awesome. It was great experience at both those yards. The more yards you can go to in your career, the better, because you get to work with different groups of guys. So I started as a groundman up in Tulare. I was up there for about 6 months. Then I transferred to the Valencia yard. I did another 2 years there because they had froze the apprenticeship. My main goal was to become a lineman, so I had to do what I had to do until you get that journeyman lineman ticket. You don't have any job security or nothing, kind of. Edison had froze the apprenticeship, so I began applying at LEDWP to become an apprentice there, and ended up getting hired there as an apprentice. Did my apprenticeship there. Great apprenticeship. Every 6 months you do each step in a different yard, so you get to work with different groups of guys, different more rural, valley, city, downtown. You get to try different scenery, different types of line work. But anyways, after I did my apprenticeship there, topped out, and shortly after left and went back to Edison just because it fit my lifestyle better, just more money, better hours, better schedule, better tools, treated better. That's kind of my story in line work. It's a great job for those who, college isn't for you. It's one of the great blue collar jobs. It still pays very well out there. You get taken care of. You can work as much as you want pretty much. So the door is kind of open as far as overtime. I mean, there's guys that are making 150 a year, 200 a year, and there's guys making 700 a year. It just depends on how much you want to work. I used to love working tons. I'd average 100-hour work weeks. I'd take every call out. I'd work at least every other weekend. And then you get older, you break down, and you don't want to work that much anymore, and that's good. And there's all kinds of different roles and avenues you can go down to in the career. And there's this sort of the great job security. I no longer work for Southern California Edison full-time, just running my safety and sunglasses business, Eyewear. But if I want to go to work tomorrow as a lineman, I go to the hall and sign the books. And most of the time, you can get picked up the next day. There's some slow seasons sometimes, but that's just the good part about your journeyman ticket. Once you have the journeyman ticket, it's just kind of it's job security. It's a little bit of life security. As long as you keep your license in good standing, you can go sign the books anywhere across the country. You can kind of just remotely kind of follow the work if you want to. You can storm chase, or you can sit and work for a utility and just work your minimum 40-hour weeks. That's why I kind of love it. And you get to work with like some of your best friends, the camaraderie, the guys. It's great. I've done tons of trips with a bunch of the guys, and we just have a good time. You need to take it seriously too, because you're risking your life every day. So if you like something that really challenges you mentally and physically, it's a great career path. While we were working, all the companies have to provide their employees with safety glasses. nobody really likes the company provided safety glasses because they're cheap and not the best looking. So everyone just wore their personal glasses, whether you have $200 Oakleys or 140 pair electrics or whatever you wanted to wear. They weren't safety rated. So in case something happened or an impact, they weren't really going to protect you. And then if you destroyed them on the job, kind of bummed about it. I also used to go to the river a lot, and you turn your head and boom, you lose a $200 pair of glasses. So I was over losing glasses, and I wanted a better pair of glasses I can wear on the job, because on the job, you might get down a pole, set your glasses on a wall, forget them somewhere. One pair of glasses might last you a year, one pair of glasses might last you a day. But the company provided safety glasses were no good. I always just saw a need there for just a better built, more stylish, more comfortable glasses that I can wear on the job, most importantly, but then I can also go wear them at the river, at the beach, at the lake. I always had that idea, man, I wish they had a better glasses like that. And I said, and I love like the Wayfair square style glasses. I'm not a big fan of the big wrap around the face. Some people are, I'm not. I like a square glass, like Wayfair style. So I always wondered, I wondered why they couldn't just put a side shield on those to get our side protection as well. So I eventually started making my own glasses. I would literally mold glasses with actual molding clay and sand them down and whatnot. And I found a manufacturer, and I slowly started working on it for like 2 years. It took a long time before I actually broke into the industry and started producing, and had a mold made and everything. And about 2019 is when I took it seriously and actually filed and started out the business. But I had started making models before, and quickly caught on. We had a lot of other companies started making that style with the side shield on the side. And, through growing pains, I kind of learned the ins and outs of business and manufacturers, and trying to better manufacturing, and just growing every aspect of the business was a definite learning curve. But so far, really good feedback, really good results, and just trying to grow the business and learn as much as I can and continue to grow it. Now I'm full time. I'm putting all my time and focus and energy into growing this business and turn it into something. I kind of want this business to stand for something too, not just be another sunglasses company, right? The cool part about this business is, I'm just a high school graduate, blue collar construction worker that made this company, like just a hardworking person. It's kind of why like this podcast is Harder Working. I want everyone to be harder working, and you got to be harder working if you want to accomplish something big or do something. I was always just working 2 jobs in high school. I've always just been harder working than most. That's kind of like these glasses. They're harder working because they're not just sunglasses. They're also safety glasses. They're for the harder working or driven individuals that really take pride in ownership in their work, in their trade, in life. I'm a big fitness freak too. I like eating healthy and working out. I always push everything to the max. So I kind of want our brand to support those style people where they're just pushing everything to the max, not just, being stagnant and existing. So for those harder working people, that's kind of why we made this podcast, to get in different trades. We're going to try and have new guests on to talk about what trade they went into, how they got into it, how they like it, pay scale, work life, atmosphere, just kind of stuff like that to help you guys find a job or a career. Hopefully this will motivate you, and maybe one day we can have you on this podcast. So that wraps up podcast number 1. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe, comment, like it. We're going to have plenty more. And next episode, we will have our first guest. Can't wait to see you guys there.